Hey beautiful people, my name's Tasha. If I haven't met you yet, I'm a doula and business coach, and I help women create calm lives that they love. So I started making a bit of a plan with COVID-19 going on, just because I have my toddler at home now and I've got a 4-month-old, and I thought, this might help other moms. So here we go. I put some printables together. So in this video, I'll go through 3 different principles: a calm sheet, a planning checklist, and a block routine. And I'll show you with examples how I kind of fill that in. But I want to do a little bit of a disclaimer because I'm definitely not a COVID-19 expert. All of us, there's a lot that we don't know, but there's a lot that we do know, and we can help each other out with kind of what's going on. So if you're feeling a bit of overwhelm, a bit of anxiety at home, like from Friday to Monday, you all of a sudden have to have a plan and activities and a routine and all of this, groceries and all these crazy things, important things, then hopefully this can help you out a little bit. And I also wanted to say that my heart goes out to everyone, wherever you're at and wherever you're feeling that you're impacted by this, directly, indirectly, it doesn't matter. My heart goes out to you, and I'm sending you lots of love. And I wanted to also just mention that we have to give ourselves some grace. Like, a lot of us have not been through this scenario before. Whether or not you're a stay-at-home mom, the virus is new. Whether or not, if you've been working full-time and now you may not be, or you're working from home and now you have to balance, the kids being at home. So we're all going through different changes, being away from family. We have to give ourselves some grace. We can't expect that from Friday to Monday, we've all of a sudden established all these habits in our lives. That's a lot to expect from one another. So let's be kind. Let's be kind to ourselves. Let's be kind to others, and just know that it's going to take some time to adjust. Okay. So the first sheet is a calm sheet. So I'm going to go through all of this, but what I want to say about these is that the layout, the names, the categories, just forget all of that. Try and absorb the concept that I'm teaching you and apply that to whatever planner you're using, whatever paper you've got at home, whatever, anything like that. So just try and absorb the concept, okay? So the calm sheet here, first of all, is something that you can do consistently or reactively. So you can use this kind of concept in your current planner. You can print this sheet out if you still got ink, and just kind of roll with it that way. So the first category here is brain dumping. Now, I'm just looking at my notes too, so I don't forget anything because it's still early. Okay, so sometimes the overwhelm just comes from not knowing what to do. And when we kind of brain dump all of that, it lightens things up a little bit, and then we can focus on what's really imperative, what's really going to help us feel like we're moving forward. So the brain dumping section is for overwhelm. So I realized the other day, and this is why these were organically created, the first day I was home with this the virus and the kids, I had a piece of paper out, and I started just writing down thoughts that were coming in my mind, feelings I had, things I wanted to do, things I wanted to clean up. And I'm like, this needs to just go on paper because I'm making a snack and I'm breastfeeding and I'm, trying to discipline gently, and the dog needs to go out. So it just wasn't realistic for me to feel like I could do all those things at the same time. So brain dumping is for that. So internal brain dumping is going to be your to-do activities in terms of your emotional and spiritual well-being. So if you have this paper anywhere on a counter throughout the day, you can write things like, I feel overwhelmed with, I want to do something, I want to learn more about this, I want to travel somewhere, something internal that you're feeling for yourself. So it may not be something that we can address right now, but I don't want you to forget it. External brain dumping is the to-do activities that support your physical and social well-being. So let's say that you want to organize something or fix something, or you want to visit someone, or anything that's outside of your core, right? So your home, people, any of that kind of stuff like that. Again, probably not something you can do right now if you're social distancing, but don't ignore it. There will be place and time for it. And if we're not putting it on paper, sometimes it's clogged in our heads. So the second row right here is related to time management. So the reason why I have this here is because people are talking about routines, like with all these kids at home, and that doesn't mean that everything that you had on your to-do list, if you work for yourself or not, disappear. So now you're home with a lot of things that you feel like are action items. So imperative to-dos or imperative action items are things that are directly related to your purpose or goal. I would say no more than 2 to 3 a day. So sometimes imperatives, like in one day, you're going to be like, you know what? Today it's going to be like make Play-Doh, call the bank, and order groceries. So it might look very, very different than if you're using this for business or your work or any other area of your life. But I want you to just try and do no more than 2 to 3. And this is going to help when I look at the block routine. Everything that's important is things that, again, you're thinking throughout the day. They might be like internal or external things if we're kind of looking back at the first row here. But again, out of your head and onto paper. So things that are imperative are going to be what you do first throughout the day, and everything else is a bonus. Like even if you want to do a fun activity, make that an imperative, and that's what you're going to focus on. Everything else is going to be extra. Okay, so you can slide over the importance to the imperatives if you're done those 2 to 3 things, but to feel accomplished, to feel like you've got, and not that we have to feel accomplished, but I mean, if this lasts longer than 2 weeks, we want our mindset to be like, to feel like we are healthy and to feel like we can be calm. And the way to do that sometimes is just to set one goal for the day and then realize like, okay, we've done this. We are doing enough. Like oftentimes we're so hard on ourselves. So that's kind of what I want to help with. And the last thing that I will say here is a gratitude and affirmation category. So if you need to write it down, like I've got a whiteboard on the fridge and I just erased my grocery list on there, and I just wrote one affirmation, and I have one right beside my bed as well, because it's going to be it's going to be different for all of us. We're all in different scenarios, and it may last longer than 3 weeks. Wherever you're at, just know that you can find an affirmation for it, and gratitude list as well, because I believe, I'm not gonna find evidence-based article for this to share with you, but from everything that I hear and what I feel, gratitude totally cannot happen at the same time as anxiety and overwhelm. So as soon as we're feeling that and you start just blasting out some things that you're grateful for, like I'm grateful for my hot tea right now, the cozy bed my dog has, the chandelier that's in front of me, my new black wall, little things that we're feeling like, wow, we are so grateful for where we're at. So again, this is something you can do consistently. Like if you do it the night before for the next day, you can do this. You can do it whenever you're feeling like, oh my God, this is crazy, I need a minute. Take this concept out, whatever works for you. Like some people, you can do it whatever, every day, whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, every couple days to just like catch up, or just have it on your counter and try and use it for like 3 weeks if you can. Use the concepts again, so make it work for you. Okay, second printable is a planning checklist. So I started realizing, again, like the overwhelm comes from like, okay, there's so much going on, like what are we actually doing? We're staying home, okay, we need some groceries, okay, I'm gonna probably need some activities for the kids. I'm still getting a bunch of emails, like, when we start maybe getting overwhelmed. So I wanna kind of break it down and create yourself a little bit of a personalized checklist. So when about a week ago, before everything started kind of happening, before the schools were closed down, I was like, okay, like if the schools close, I'm going to want a couple things at home for my daughter Rocky, and I'm going to want to set a couple things up for business. So here are the categories. So I've got mindset and input, because we're always like, and this is something regardless of social distancing, we want to think about this. What's the input that's going on in our heads? Who is around us? What are we listening to? What are we reading? And how is it impacting us on a day-to-day basis? So right now, are you only talking to people that are, maybe complaining about this, which is okay, but just don't stay there? Are you listening to just the news instead of, maybe some positive podcasts? What are you listening to on TV? Like stuff like that. Movies that scare you. So this category here is to kind of like tune down the noise, okay? If you're listening to maybe 10 podcasts and over the next 3 weeks you're going to have a lot going on with kids at home, then maybe choose one podcast and stick to that one. Maybe find a book that you're going to say, okay, like the next 3 weeks, this will be my like Bible, so to speak, and I will be, focusing on this. Like, let's tune down the noise and like cut out a little bit of the important things and focus on what we feel is a bit more imperative for our mental health right now. Your village. So obviously social distancing, but like write down a list of family and friends that you feel are in a very similar situation as yours. So I've got 2 friends that I talk to on Marco Polo, like religiously. It's a great app. You can get that if you want. It doesn't time out. You can send videos. You listen to them whenever you want. And we're in very similar situation with our husbands, our partners, with our kids, and our level of anxiety and what we do in life. So, maybe think about, you can be social with whoever you want, but it kind of helps to write down a list of like, okay, if I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed, or I need to talk about what's going on, or I need to, figure it out, who do I call? Who can I contact? So write that down. And then any donations that you might have, like if you feel like you've got some extra things, maybe you can be a part of someone else's village in the meantime. So next category is wellness. So like I'm seeing so much online, it's only the beginning of people starting to offer, free classes online, free workouts. Is there maybe something that you need, like you want to order like a yoga mat if you don't have one, create kind of this space in your home if you can, or just designate an area where you're going to, go and do that. Like this is just kind of prep mode. Automation. So this is an interesting one. So there might be automations that you need to start. There might be automations that you need to end. So typically in business, I would say automate everything, save yourself some time, energy, and money, create that kind of system for you. But if you have, let's say, all your finances on automations, and it might not be like a great thing for you, then you can stop those, maybe make it manually so that you have the option to choose certain bills over others. I'm smiling, it's not funny, but it might, get to that point for some of us. And for us as well. So you can remove a couple automations, keep them, and then create some for your work in your like emails, for example. If you're a templated response to someone asking a certain question, anything like that. And I can dive deeper into that if you've got questions. So create automations or remove some, whatever is easier for your life. Okay, so now materials. This is what I was saying before in terms of, okay, you're going to be at home with your kids. What are you feeling like you need for your life and for your kids? So maybe it's like some school supplies, maybe it's baking supplies to make, certain things. Maybe you're going to look up like, okay, I'm not going to do a lesson every day. I'll give myself a bit of a break. Maybe I'll do something every second day. Let me look up some lessons. What materials do I need? Let's get them done. Kind of plan for that. And paper plates and utensils and cups. So this is just a, public health recommendation if someone's like social distancing or self-isolating, I guess, to just, limit their usage of oh my God, plates and whatever. Hashtag don't be a spreader. So, any materials that you might need for that, okay? And then your environment. So one of the things I realized is usually I have my 2 kids at home 3 days a week, not 5. And so those days I'm trying not to be hard on myself for the mess that's created. Like find some magic in the mess, I try and say. Between lunch and dinner, this is just a tangent tip. We don't try and clean up too much. We try and do it the next day because that's just like the witching hour where, she wants to play and we make dinner and in this bath and it's like a bit crazy. So if you have baskets and bins that you can kind of put around busy areas of your home, and just give yourself a bit of a break, you can do like set a 10-minute timer and do a cleanup and just dump it all in the bins. Deal with it after. I find that really helps. It kind of cleans up a little area. And maybe you're going to, create little activity areas, clean up the playroom, kind of set it up. What do you feel like you need to do in your space for that? Maybe you've got I've got a basket beside my bed that has like hand sanitizer. It always usually does, not just because of this. Like hand cream, a book, a light, things like a little snack, things that you're just kind of setting up to make yourself comfortable. Okay, so now my favorite, this block routine. So I hope that you can see it okay. Now what I will say is that, of course, this is something that you can do every day. I want you to think of block routine as something a little bit more calming, instead of having like, okay, you know, at 6 a.m. I wake up, and this is also fine if this works for you, just like use what works for you. At 6 a.m. I wake up, at 6:30 I do this, at 7 I do this. I want you to look at your day maybe in like chunks of time, and sometimes that helps because we're not we're not kind of feeling overwhelmed to be like, oh, it's 8 and like my kid's not dressed yet, right? So it can be a little bit, create a bit of anxiety there. But what I will say as a disclaimer to block scheduling is you can't put too much on your list, because then you're going to feel like, okay, there's like 20 things here and I've done 1. So I'll address that in a little bit too. So you can either print this if you've got, ink, we have none, or you can just kind of write this out like on a piece of paper anywhere. Just a bit of tea because I haven't had breakfast yet. Not good, but anyways. Okay, so block scheduling. So here's an example, and I'll go through different scenarios in a bit. So my life kind of looks like this right now. I've got some quiet time until about 3 minutes before my toddler wakes up, and then I usually go and get my newborn because she's already down for like her first nap. And then I've got the morning, like from morning until lunch. Then there's the afternoon. Then I've got my evening time, and then I put some reminders here for you. So let's go through those right now first. Setting your alarm to get ready before the kids, if you can, is always helpful. Create blocks for your day, and it's a consistent routine, not a schedule. So that can really help. Like I was saying, like yesterday, it was 9 a.m. before we got downstairs to eat breakfast. But if my only imperative that day was, whatever it was I had designated, then I'm not stressed about it. And when we kind of use the mantra, slow down, and we say that out loud, it can help us physically as well. So for older kids, you can use like their daycare, their school schedule, their school routine as a guide. Day baths are awesome. Whether it's dry and you're throwing some paint or toys in there, non-toxic paint or anything that goes down the drain, or a sensory bin in the bath, or an actual bath, it's just a great distraction, a different space. So I won't go through a lot of toddler activities. I recommend the Busy Toddler for that on Instagram. She's amazing. Look at, like the night before, here's another tip, look at the weather and maybe plan out this block routine for yourself. Whenever you're cooking, cook times 2, and you can kind of like meal prep, freeze it, make it easier on yourself, or take whatever you need out the night before. You can prepare some snacks, just like have an idea, of kind of what's going on, because in the moment, I don't know about you, but for me, I'm always thinking like, okay, what am I going to give her, or whatever. I always give her options regardless, and she chooses, but sometimes it makes it a bit easier. And do what you need to do to survive and feel calm. So again, give yourself some grace for this. So as an example, I want you to think of this as a menu, okay? So I do not do all of these things here on this example, but what I would recommend first is print this out if you can at least do 1, or just use any piece of paper at home, and just track your first day, like kind of like what they say for meal planning or whenever you're doing that kind of stuff, okay? Track what you actually do. And then you'll realize maybe a pattern where the morning you go outside and the afternoon you prep for dinner or whatever it might be. My daughter's okay to wait clock just came up, and she's gonna yell mom until I'm done. So I'll try and be quick with this. Hold on, Rocky. Okay, so my quiet time in the morning involves all of these items, but what I do, like I want to point it out here, is that you do like one self-care activity. So I like to categorize things. So sometimes if people do a morning routine or a routine throughout the day with your kids, you're like, we need to do, A, B, C, whatever, like X, Y, Z. If you categorize that and you do, I just want to do one self-care thing, then one day it can be watching a show. One day it can be drinking a tea. One day it can be taking a bath. So write down your menu like that, okay? Oh, geez, that's my life. In the morning, here's an example. So a lot of these overlap, by the way. So I wake up Rocky, she gets dressed. She might eat and then do a bit of screen time while I clean up. and I empty the dishwasher, and then she might do a bit of a free play while I choose one productive thing. I find that this is one of my imperatives, by the way. So throughout the day, I've got like a productive thing, as you can see here, an activity with her, and then an activity in the afternoon, and those are kind of my 3 imperatives. So I choose, I hope you can hear her, I'm gonna go get her in 2 minutes. So one productive thing, I usually do that while she's free playing, or she helps me out. If I'm cleaning something, I always try and involve her, of course. But I like to do that in the morning. I feel good throughout the day. Then we do a snack, we try and get some fresh air, and then we have lunch and we have calm time. The baby just kind of rolls with the punches right now. So wherever she is, wherever she's at, she's just with us. Then in the afternoon, she has some calm time. Sometimes she naps, sometimes she doesn't. She's still in her room, reads books, puzzles. We choose what she wants to do. Then she has a bit of a snack and screen. So this gives me, like, if I've done something during her calm time and I just put and Nova was up, my baby, maybe the whole time, doing a bit of a snack and screen gives me a bit of an additional break. She's still calm, the baby's napping, and I can just maybe do a bit of work if I've got some that day. Then I choose an easy activity, and then it's almost time for a bath, like around 3:30 sometimes, because then around 4 we plan for dinner, because my partner gets home around 5, and then if my toddler has not napped for that day, then she's in bed at around 5:36. So that's kind of quick in the afternoon there, but it's what works for us. So again, take this menu, write down everything that you do, and then give yourself a bit of a guide. So on your actual list, you might have 3 things for your quiet time in the morning. You might have 2 in the morning. You might have 1 in the afternoon and that kind of thing. But giving yourself a visual of what you actually do is so helpful. And then at nighttime, I've got the same thing. So I'm going to leave it there because I want to go get my cute little daughter and get my morning block going. So please send me any questions if you've got any, and I really hope that these printables have been helpful somewhat. I'm sending you lots of love for wherever you are in the world right now, and I would love if you just let me know which aspect. You can comment on this video, send me a DM on Instagram, whatever, it doesn't matter. I would love to hear your experience, what's going on with you, if you're directly affected, indirectly, and how I can help you with these printables live a more calm period. So sending you lots of love. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.